Okay, that wasn't a photograph, but I got a request asking about some ulnar wrist pain. So the last video that I talked about wrist pain was on the radial side, and we kind of went through some exercises and some ways to assess that. And a friend of mine who is a yoga instructor, a world-renowned yoga instructor, I might add, she is getting some ulnar wrist pain. Now we need to understand that with any kind of hand balancing, we might be getting a little overcompressed here. Now in her case, I know she has very mobile wrists. So she has full extension and flexion. Where she's gonna get into trouble might be a strength issue. But I'm gonna go over a couple other issues that people might have due to this ulnar compression or wrist pain with push-ups or any other kind of support positions. So first of all, I've got young Daniel here. He's a University of Toronto physiotherapy student. And he's so kindly that I voluntold him that he has to do this video in order to pass my placement. So I'm going to exploit him for your purposes and your needs to educate the world, as well as he will also learn. Okay, so first of all, Daniel's going to show me what's his wrist extension like. Okay, so we are essentially looking for 80 to 90 degrees. This is actually pretty good. I was expecting a lot worse. So we want to come into the side here. Then we're going to bring them all the way down into flexion. So we want to see 80 to 90 degrees here. Now looking at this, it might be a little bit short on that side, and that's actually pretty good on that side. If we're limited, Daniel, if I overpress on that wrist, are you getting any pinching here or any compression there? Not too bad, okay. So if we're looking at range of motion, say Daniel's getting, we're gonna let that go. He's getting some wrist pain on this side. Let's check the strength. So bring the wrist all the way up, and I'm going to see if I can break that contraction, and that's actually quite good. So we're looking at extensors that are going to help pull the wrist into extension. Now bring it all the way down. Yep. Now I want to see, do the flexors work all the way into flexion? And he's a little bit off there. Okay, try that. Is that actually, that's quite hard. Okay, compared to the other side. So Daniel's wrist flexors are not working very well in the short range. So this can in turn, if he doesn't have strength, he's not going to be able to pull against the extensors on this side. So we need to do some grip work on that. Now, for the most of us, most people are going to be limited with this wrist extension. They might get here and they're going to get pulling in this. So we need to know what's causing a lot of that tension. We need to know, is it nerve tension or is it soft tissue or is it a little bit of capsular? So we're going to do the little, you're going to do the owl eyes. Okay? We're going to do the owl eye trick. So you're going to make little owl eyes, and you're going to see if you can do this. This is going to stretch the ulnar nerve. So the ulnar nerve comes around the pinky side, supplies into the thumb, but it comes onto the inside of the elbow. If there's tension in the ulnar nerve, that's going to limit the ability to extend, but that can also cause pain on the ulnar side of the wrist with any kind of supports. So Daniel, show me your owl eyes. I am jealous. Look at, this is terrible. Okay, so now everybody knows my one flaw. Okay, but it'll get better. So Daniel doesn't have any nerve tension. If you're getting nerve tension here, you're going to feel a little zippy down here. This is where we might need to do some nerve flossing. Okay, so we'll bring it into owl as best as we can. Feel a little bit of stretch there, and then we can add on neck flossing. So 10, 15 reps just to kind of open that up and then recheck. Make sure that that nerve has settled down. If that's clear, and we're still getting a little bit wired up into there, doing some stretching on this side is very helpful. So just open up the palm. You can show me that side. Daniel doesn't need to do too much here because his forearm mobility is actually quite good. And you can do some simple stretching on your own. So here, okay? If you find that stretching is ineffective, soft, cross ball or any kind of soft tissue work there. We're gonna go down to the floor. Let's just say, we're not getting quite enough stretch, but we wanna kind of load up the wrists. So we're gonna go down to the floor. And we're gonna start in a little bit of internal rotation. And when I'm doing this, add on that shoulder protraction, because when you're in any kind of hand support positions, you need serratus anterior to come on. Handstands and supports with that shoulder punch out the back, it's only going to cause issues in the shoulder and the wrist. So you're going to make sure that you can press that floor away. So we're going to work into internal rotation, and we're going to do some protraction here, and then we're going to turn the wrist all the way around. Now we're really stretching front of the arm, and I'm going to work some protraction here. Now, as I move back around, I'm going to turn and then flex the wrist down to really stretch the back of the wrist, okay? So we don't do this a lot because we just don't have a need to, but I've watched my kids push up off the back of the wrist, and you need to have strong ligaments on both sides. And we're just gonna do some wrist flexing. Okay, try that again. Don't just stand there looking pretty. You can do some stuff. This is where you will need to do a little bit more of the mobility, and then you can turn it around and stretch. So try and flex and open, and you open that up. Cool. From here, do some finger levers. Okay? So all y'all who have, I said y'all, I know, sounds American. Anybody who has hypermobile wrists, it might be a strength issue. So you can't prop that hand up or really post off the hand because the flexor muscles just aren't strong enough. So remember, when you're doing any hand balancing, this becomes this. And if this is weak, then you're going to collapse and you're going to cause impingement. And a lot of times you end up collapsing, just like an arch of a foot. You'll end up posting up on that thumb too much, when in actuality you need to kind of bring up the arches here to put all your pressure on the outside of the palm, okay? So when you post that up. So let's just say we got that out of the way. Now to make it more specific to overhead, we're going to come over to the wall. And young Daniel is going to put the wrist up on the wall. He's going to do a couple little wrist levers here. And then you're going to sit back. So it's almost like you're in a half pike handstand. There you go. Good. So keep the head down. Yep. Get the butt back. And what he's going to do is he's going to push the wall away. So he's in protraction. He's getting that upward rotation. And then he's just doing basically like calf raises, but for your wrist flexors. So he's engaging all the scap upward rotators, serratus anterior upper traps, but strengthening and stretching those wrist flexors. Cool. How does that feel? Not too bad. So again, you want to do high repetitions because you want to affect the connective tissue. Now, what's the opposite of that? I'm going to test you right now. Sure. Okay. Yep. So if we're doing open palm, we need to do false grip. So you grab the reins. And again, where was Daniel weak? He was weak with wrist flexion. So I'm going to get him to do some false grip. So with the false grip, you want to hook the ring right inside that hypophynar. So this part of your palm, okay? Pull it in, really flexing that wrist, and then you're going to come down and you're going to hang and you're going to rotate. So you want to maintain that false grip the entire time. Now we're going to do some rows. And we can also do some sit backs in the overhead position. But the idea is to get used to strengthening in that short range. Daniel, stand straight. So Daniel's going to set it up where, you know, he's not even going to use a grip. He's just going to hang on that wrist flexors. And you can do some rotations here. He's all posted up here nicely. And he's going to do a little pull in. Good. So he's still maintaining tension here, still good spinal alignment. And you're going to fall back and now sit your bum back so you get into more of an overhead. There you go. So you're just changing the fascial stretch in through the shoulders in that overhead position. Okay? Cool. Feels pretty good. Nice. Okay? This is a very high-tech, very complicated exercise that we're going to do right now. I don't know if you'll be able to find these. Okay? The little elastic band from the broccoli. Doesn't need to be broccoli. I don't care. So, you're going to open, right? So we think about strengthening the flexors all the time, but we neglect the extensors. So all that, people are coming in with tennis elbow, but they're not playing tennis because this got long and weak. So you're going to simply get an elastic band and you're going to do openers. I don't want you to do repeated openers. I want you to open and then move the shoulder. Because how often do we sit there and grip things repeatedly?
Unless you're playing video games, not often.
Not often, right? So it doesn't make sense to sit there and grip to create strength, but we grip things and we move those objects around. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do an open grip, isometrically hold those muscles on, and then I'm going to spin the elbow, I'm going to spin the shoulder, and I'm going to move it in the various planes. So I'm creating proprioception, but I'm creating strength and tension in the elbow as I move that around. And basically do it until you get tired. Put it on, go do something else. Now we're going to do this last one. We're going to do a dowel. So I showed some deviation exercises with a band in the last wrist video. I'm going to use a dowel today. Not to hit Daniel, but to get him to strengthen up that wrist of his. So, Dan's going to take it, but we're going to bring it, let it all the way down. Good. And I want you to just do some simple radial and ulnar deviation. Having him hold it here is going to both work stabilizers in the front of the shoulder, but it's also causing some shortening on this side of the flexor carpi ulnaris. Super fancy anatomical words. Then he's going to turn, so the camera can see you better, bring the dowel behind you, right back, and work ulnar deviation back here with the tricep. So working that short flexor muscle on the pinky side of the finger in both shoulder flexion and extension is important, not only for kinetic linking, but to change the proprioception and the awareness of the joint. Again, 15, 20 reps, ought to do it.
I'm early.
Use your handstand or your support positions to measure and guide. Recheck your range of motion after doing all these things, and then see how it feels. But if anybody has any more questions on any other kind of wrist pain, shoot me a message and I'll be happy to help you out. And I'll have Dan here for the next month, so I'm going to exploit him as much as I can.